it. Is he going to make a breakout year in 2023? Let's talk about it right now.
Alvarez hits a high drive center field. Vierling's back. This game is turned upside down. There's the runner. Fly ball down the right field line. Tucker comes on. Kyle Tucker. This time they finish the job.
Hello and welcome to Locked On Astros, your daily Astros podcast. Here are your hosts, Eric the Man Huysman and Brett H-Town Wheelhouse Chancey.
We are Locked On Houston Astros, and we hope that you join us for a daily Locked On Astros podcast. My name is Eric Huysman. You can find me on Twitter at Eric Talks Stros. You can find the show at Locked On Astros, your team every day. Where can you find you on this Monday evening?
They can find me at H-Town Wheelhouse on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. They can find me at Stros411 on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. Always positive. Positive, I love it when Uncle Mike speaks. Always Stros.
All right, you guys, we got a lot to talk about. That's what I love about spring training. There's so many storylines. Michale Brantley playing first base. Is that could be a thing? And then Bregman speaks about the extension that Dana Brown wants him to be a lifetime Astro. How likely is that going to happen? Then there's so much more that we didn't even get a chance to talk about on last night's show. So guys, thank you for making Locked On Astros podcast your first listen. Whether it's on YouTube, go and keep on subscribing, give us a big fat thumbs up, and go and listen to us on Apple, Odyssey, Spotify, Google, wherever you listen to your podcast. Go and check out the Locked On Astros podcast and make us your first listen every day, please and thank you. And let's go and get the show started with good old Uncle Mike, and he's reporting to camp. He reported early, and a lot of veterans wouldn't do that, but he's coming off the shoulder surgery, and this is something that this is his fifth season with the Astros, and he has something to prove. And I know that there's a little bit of doubts whether he'll be ready for opening day, but he is actually throwing. He is out there taking some ground balls at first base. He said, don't read too much into that. We'll talk about that in a second. And Dusty Baker said, don't read too much into that, but it's good for him to get some experience over there. But it's good to see him out there. But everybody's kind of saying, be cautious about how ready he'll be for opening day.
Well, I know that he said he has progressed pretty far along when it comes to his hitting. He's ahead of schedule hitting.
Right.
But obviously they're going to work him into the spring training games. I watched the full interview, and after the show tonight at 10:30, we're premiering the interview with Brantley, some Chas McCormick sound, and as well Alex Bregman, and you can hear more of that there. But basically, he said, we're going to have to see how it goes. At the time, it's a team-first approach as always. I've always been like that. If I can help the team out in any way, I'll be available. It's a lot of hard work. I'm learning a lot very quickly, but it's been going smoothly so far. This reminds me, Eric, of the movie Moneyball when they signed Scott Hatteberg and his basically arm was shot. And Billy Bean's character, who was played by Brad Pitt, looks at Washington, who is the coach, and he said, hey, tell him how easy it is to play first base. He's like, it's extremely difficult. He's like, oh, come on. No, it's not. And so Michale Brantley was down there. He was on one knee. He had his first base mitt. And this team needs to have multiple options there in the field. We know that they have other players that can play first, but why not? If you think that maybe the shoulder might be an issue, do you want Michale Brantley running towards a wall to catch a fly ball? Or would you rather him every once in a while play first base, or probably a little bit less contact there at first base? And he is a studious person. Eric, he's been here 5 years, and he's loved his time here with the team. And he has always, he's the ultimate teammate. He is the ultimate example. And if there's any veteran at his age that can learn a new position, I would say it's Michale Brantley.
Yeah, don't forget David Hensley could play first base. Yainer Diaz could play first base. But he said that he has been working with Omar Lopez, and I'm just trying to learn to the best of my ability, get the footwork down, make accurate throws, find new arm slots. It's an adjustment period, but it's kind of fun. I always enjoy taking ground balls, and I get to do a little bit more often. And so when asked about taking grounders, he said, I love it. Anything I could do to help this team win, I'm willing to do. My family and I live in Houston. I'm so glad that Jim Crane and the Houston Astros want me back. And so he just went on to say that even though I was out during the World Series run, this team always makes me feel like part of the team. Been here going in 5 years. I don't take any of it for granted. So that's probably why you saw him here when pitchers and catchers reported. And he's just trying to just be there in case they need somebody. If like everybody else is out, Michale Brantley can come in and be the hero. That's basically what's going on. And Dusty Baker kind of insinuated that. He said, don't look too much into this. He's just having some fun out there, but it's not a bad idea for him to get that experience.
Right. But, like I said, obviously Jose Abreu's not going to be playing shortstop, but Michale Brantley, it is a very real possibility that he plays first base because of the type of position it is. And with the shift going away, you're not going to have him play off of first base very much either. And so I just like the fact that his swing is ahead of schedule, that he's on pace, that he's going to be eased into it. I'm glad he's not part of this World Baseball Classic. Well, obviously he wouldn't because of the injury,
right.
But Uncle Mike being here in camp, the guys knowing what kind of veteran he is, the fact that he loves being here, and the fact that he feels appreciated by the team for re-signing him, because they didn't have to re-sign him. They could have said, Brantley's a little long in the tooth. He's coming off shoulder injury. We're not going to touch that with a 10-foot pole. And they paid him pretty handsomely for what he's coming off of. They asked him also, Eric, about the shift. They were like, what do you think about the shift? And he said, I don't care whether you shift or not. It doesn't change my approach to the plate. And that is a Michale Brantley answer. And it's an honest answer because he is an opposite field hitter and he has become somewhat of a pull hitter, but he can hit all sides of the field. So Brantley, I don't think it affects him as a lefty as much as we think it will probably have a positive impact on someone like Tucker or Jordan. And, he addressed that, and I loved his answer there.
So I know that Astro Wolf Craig says that he thought that Brantley talked about being willing to play some first base a couple years ago. You have to understand that the Astros they prioritize defense. So until you get a lot of experience playing that position, they're really not going to just throw you out there. And so Michale Brantley, if they're serious about that, they're going to probably get him some games during spring training, but I don't see them doing a lot of that unless it's they don't want him to get hurt. And
right.
Like a first baseman, you think that there's not a lot of defense there, but they have to make diving plays sometimes. And so as easy it is to hit a wall, it's just as easy to jam your shoulder or hurt your shoulder, making diving plays. So I think the Astros will be cautious with Michale Brantley, either play him in left field or play him at DH. So I want to kind of shift focus a little bit to I know everybody's talking about Jeremy Pena's triceps, that they're like this big. I sure hope that doesn't like hurt him like with his bat or anything like did one year that Alex Bregman came up all jacked up and everything.
No, because Jeremy Pena has been built since before he hit the Astros.
Oh, I know, but he's more jacked up this year. So
he is, right. Well, he is, and you could tell he's worked on the forearms, he's worked on the triceps. Right. Someone mentioned someone said there's a lack of growth in his chest. So they're like, I wonder what kind of workouts he's been focusing on. Look, the bottom line is this is a strong beast of a kid. And if he hasn't lost any flexibility, that's all I'm concerned about. Whenever these athletes bulk up, my biggest concern is flexibility, but they have strength and conditioning coaches. They have stretches and they have routines to keep these guys limber and loose, because the more limber, the more loose you are, the least likely you are to go out there and get injured. I mean, go back to the mid 80s when you had someone like Jerry Rice in the NFL. Wide receivers, they literally took ballet classes in the NFL to stay flexible. And so there are things that athletes do in the offseason during the season. So I just thought that was one hell of a tricep there. And of course, people were joking about the buzzer being under his shirt on his shoulder because his tricep was so big. But look, these guys are coming in ready to play. I mean, Eric, they look like a team that's ready to contend for a title.
Yeah, for sure. And definitely, I know that Bregman, we'll talk about Bregman in a second, what he had to say about Dana Brown's extension comments. But if you're looking at what Bregman had to say about Jeremy Pena, he said he's not worried about the shift at all in terms of Jeremy Pena having the range. He said that he has the athleticism to adjust to the shift and everything. But you have to wonder if Jeremy Pena had any built bars this offseason.
You know, Eric, he probably did throw a few Built Bars down. He could probably take an entire box of churro puffs, I'm pretty sure, all by himself. They are healthy. They're actually tasty. And what is amazing is, I'm telling you this, it's a protein bar and it's not actually a candy bar. And I'm not fooling you here. And the macros are amazing, like Jeremy Pena's tricep, if we're going to stick with that theme. 130 calories, 4 grams of sugar, and a whopping 17 grams of protein. Now, for years, we've been telling you to go to built.com, and you can still do that. But what I want you to do is I want you to go to your local Walmart or Sam's Club. That's right. Head to your nearest Walmart today and walk to the pharmacy section to grab yourself a box of Built Bars. You can pick up a 4-bar box of cookies and cream, double chocolate, or coconut puffs. If you're close to Sam's Club, you could run in and grab a 13-bar box of our hit flavors, brownie batter and churro. You can thank me later. Built.com where you can go, or please go to your local Sam's or Walmart and grab you a box and tell them that H-Town Wheelhouse sent you.
All right, guys, thank you for making Locked On Astros podcast your first listen on Apple, Odyssey, Spotify. But please go subscribe to us on YouTube. We're trying to get up to the magic number. What number are we looking for right now? 7,000?
We are literally less than 100 away from 7,000 subscribers. Okay. So we need you to tell your friends and your family, everybody like you work with, your coworker. I literally met someone the other day, Eric, and they said, I know 15 people right now that would subscribe to your podcast. Now, I don't know if the number jumped to 15 that day, but I know that once people hear about us, they enjoy the show because we have the best coverage. We have the most exciting coverage, and we just enjoy covering Astros here at Locked On Astros.
So one of the guys that we've been covering for a while with the Houston Astros is Alex Bregman, and Dana Brown has not been with the Astros for a long time, but he already recognizes that Alex Bregman is one of the key players in the lineup, and he wants to keep him a lifetime Houston Astro. If you're looking at the two players, I believe that Altuve is 32 right now. Bregman is 28. There's a big difference in age. If you're talking about locking these two players up, that's a big difference because you're talking about maybe by the time Altuve's a free agent, you're talking about maybe 6 years. By the time Bregman's a free agent, you're talking about a 10-year deal. So locking these two players up for a lifetime would be really difficult for them to do. But it sounds like Bregman is interested in staying in Houston, but he was also asked about if free agency intrigues him. He says, yeah, we'll see what happens. We're listening to everything. We're all ears. We'll see what happens. But he said Brown said that him and Scott Boras are going to talk. I love Houston. I love the people. I love my teammates. I love the city. It meant a lot to me and my family. I don't have any update on that, but him and Scott are going to talk, and Scott will tell me whenever they do.
He sounded a lot like Craig Biggio. I don't know if you remember the press conferences Craig Biggio would give after the Astros game. He gave your very, you can't read anything into what he's saying. He's like, we're a great team. We went out and fought. We had a great win. And it was very almost canned. And he was like, I love the city. I love this team. I love Jim Crane. I love my agent. And I was just like, look, Bregman was, the first part of that presser was a little bit of like, okay, I want to get through these questions. But he really lit up, Eric, when he talked about how he's come into camp healthy and in great shape. And he, has been working on his swing. He said, look, I've been working on getting my foot down and hitting through the ball and focusing on that. That has been a key for me to talk about this extension. You're right. This extension is for him. If you lock him up till the end of his career, you're obviously not going to Astros don't do 12-year deals, okay?
Right. Or
But
10.
he said he wants to play until he's 40. He wants to play until he's not at the top of his game. So what I think the Astros do with someone like Bregman and Altuve is you get a kind of behind the scenes agreement. Look, we're going to sign you for these next 6 years. We're going to sign you another extension, but we have every intention after that's up. If you have 4 years left in the majors, we want to keep you those 4 years because you'll have already cemented your legacy. It wouldn't make sense to play anywhere else, right? It would be like Akeem Olajuwon playing in a Raptors uniform. I still, to this day, hate that vision of seeing Akeem Olajuwon. But I think one of the worst things that could happen with these two athletes is they get 1 or 2 years left in the major leagues, and they do kind of like a Lance Berkman did, Yankees, Rangers, Cardinals. They play all these different places. I want to see Bregman in an Astros uniform. I don't want to see him anywhere else. And I think he's endeared himself to this city. And he may, because he's already making 30 plus million, he may give the team a discount when he gets a little bit older. And because he's not going to keep making 33, 35 million until he's in his late
Have you seen
30s.
the salaries that players are making?
But I'm just saying, I don't think that Bregman is going to make that with this club if he stays with this club.
Have you met Scott Boras?
Have you met the Houston Astros who don't pay those kind of salaries into someone's 40th year?
Well, yeah, that's why
You're
I
not
don't think that he's going to get a 10-year deal, but I think
No.
that they'll maybe do a 5-year extension
Yeah,
once he becomes
exactly.
30, and then they'll once that 5-year deal is up, then they'll talk about another extension at that point. But I
Yeah,
think I think there's some interest there, and he said all I could do now is prepare for this season, play the best baseball I can. The rest will work itself out. But Brett, this is what I loved about what you said. But it's always nice to be wanted. We all want that, don't we, Brett?
Oh yeah, definitely. Definitely. I mean, anybody wants that, especially a player when it's unsolicited, when Dana Brown literally makes that the first major statement that he makes about Altuve and Bregman, because I think Altuve, we already expected that to be the conversation because of who he is. And Bregman's always one of those guys where I've always asked myself, is he a lifelong Astro? Like I want him to be, but is he a guy that maybe goes and plays at somewhere like a Boston or just somewhere different, right? And I've always thought Bregman was one of those guys that might end up in another uniform. But the more Dana Brown talks about it, look, I don't want Bregman to go anywhere. But the bottom line is this: of these young like infielders coming up, we've got some studs that can play third base. And there may not be a spot if these guys catch fire and they come up. It may not be. It may be Bregman's third base to lose in about 4 or 5 years, if not
Yeah.
sooner.
Matthew said the Astros are cheap. I don't think the Astros are cheap. I think
They've got the
they're
four. Hold
more.
on, they've got the fourth highest payroll. How are
Yeah,
they cheap?
I think they are. They're wise. They know where to spend their money and they know how to spend money. And if you look at the long-term contracts, most of them don't pan out the way teams want them to. Why do you think teams were so scared to give Carlos Correa that long-term deal? Because they saw that this dude's ankle was held together by scotch tape. And so they're very smart organization.
It's not that frail. Good Lord. You sound like he's about to lose. You sound like he's walking around with his foot about to fall off. Come on, Eric. Give the guy's surgeon a little credit there. He didn't go to
He went to Best Buy and got some
he,
scotch tape.
he didn't go to the Arctic Circle to get the surgery for a discount.
Yeah,
Come
I
on,
know,
man.
Matthew, but no, Matthew, I knew what you were saying, but there's that narrative out there that the Astros are cheap, and they're not cheap. So that's
Oh,
what.
okay. He was basically saying, remember, I think he was kind of like, remember, the Astros are cheap, kind of with that emphasis,
Right.
like we are told that. And anybody, like, there are people, though, who believe that. And look, you have a right to your own opinion. That's fine. But when I look at the evidence of the success of this ball club and I see what they're doing and where they're going and how much potential they have to keep this run going through 2028, if not longer, I mean, this is an insane run where this club, this organization is going to be looked up upon just as one of the greatest organizations to put a 10-year run together as anything. And right now, I think it's us and the Kansas City Chiefs as the two best organizations in all of sports. I don't think anyone holds a candle to us or them.
Just a real quick, I do want to talk a little bit about Matt Gage. This is the
Yeah.
guy the Astros claimed on waivers from the Blue Jays, and I believe the Astros recently hired a scout from the Blue Jays. And then this was a guy that Dana Brown really wanted. So what he did was something unconventional. Apparently, Matt Gage was about to decline coming to the Astros. He was interested in going to make more money in Japan because he's a 30-year-old rookie. So the Astros were like, okay, we don't want to lose this guy. Yes, he's 30 years old, but we like his stuff. We think he's a lefty that Dusty Baker would like in a bullpen. So he literally called the district, not the district, but the MLB offices and was like, hey, can we give this guy a signing bonus to come and play with the Houston Astros? And so they said yes. So basically, they agreed upon a $125,000 signing bonus. So basically, if he makes the major league squad, he's going to make $770,000 in the big leagues this year, and if he's in the minor leagues, he's going to make $175,000 this year. So
There
meaning
you
he's
go.
going to only make $50,000 if this didn't go through. So you
So
could
Matt,
see why he wanted to go to Japan, because he would have made some more money. But this just shows that Dana Brown is going to be creative. He's going to go out there and get what it takes to get his guy.
and that's when they signed him and he was 30 years old. I said, there's got to be more to this story than just signing some rando 30-year-old. Because my initial thought, I think I even said it and gave the sentiment on the show, which I know I did, was he's a 30-year-old rookie who got waived. Okay, he can't be that great, right? But then because you actually shared those details with me the other day, because I didn't know that. And I was like, whoa, hold on. There's something to this kid. And this is a low risk, high reward thing for the Houston Astros. And so I think for Matt Gage, he saw the potential in Major League Baseball to make more even down the road. And that's probably where the Astros got him roped in. Well, let me tell you, we are at the midway point of the NBA season. We just had the All-Star game weekend. Mac McClung was an amazing superstar, won the dunk contest. The All-Star game, they scored like 150,000 points, and there was absolutely no defense. They were alley-ooping the dunks off of the backboard to themselves. It was kind of insane. Well, what's even more insane is FanDuel, because they are America's #1 sports book, because new customers right now get the no sweat first bet up to $1,000. That's bonus bets back if your first bet doesn't win. Just download the FanDuel Sportsbook app. It's safe, secure, and super easy to use. Then you can go and bet on everything from the money line to point scores to threes drained. Plus, FanDuel even lets you combine your bets for a chance to win a bigger payout with same game parlay. So don't miss out on this chance to get your no sweat first bet up to $1,000 in bonus bets when you go to FanDuel.com/locked on. That's FanDuel.com/locked on. Learn more. Make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sports betting partner of the NBA.
Hey guys, stick around. We're going to talk about Forrest Whitley, the guy that is finally, we're hoping is going to click this year. And I think the Astros are really counting on him. But I do want to talk a little bit about Lance McCullers. There was a brief little update about him.
Okay.
Dusty Baker said the trainer says he's feeling better. He's getting better. These things just don't get well overnight in most cases. You don't say, Dusty. Wow.
Especially in Lance's case. I mean, look, love Lance. He's great. He's been on the show. I think he's all about the H, bury me in the H, and all that stuff. But at the end of the day, what this team needs is a starting pitcher that is going to be healthy all season long. And we can't even talk about a 6-man rotation if we don't have a healthy Lance McCullers. I mean,
Right.
Bottom line. But they may need a 6-man rotation because of what's going on. And we may have someone that comes up, Eric, and fills a little void if he's able to break through. If he's able to break on through to the other side, like he's been trying to do. I mean, Forrest Whitley has come in to this league with more expectation than I think any pitcher in Astros history as a rookie. And he said this. He admitted last year his expectations were super high. He threw 13 games, made 11 starts, posted a 6.53 ERA in 40 innings. Okay. His season ended when he was scratched prior to his start in September when he felt pain in the back of his shoulder. So everybody on the show that watches our show, that comments on the show is like, is Forrest Whitley real? Does he exist?
Yeah, so I think he does exist, and I think after seeing his delivery this spring, I know it was just during just when the pitchers were throwing in front of the pitching coaches.
Right.
It looks a lot more controlled. It doesn't look like that violent motion that he was doing in past years. So maybe he's finally figured it out. And he said, "I've definitely grown as a person for the stuff I had to go through. I feel like expectations were fair. I feel like I've evolved so much. You see the media side of it, and it's like generally pretty negative now, but it used to be so overwhelmingly positive, and that was a little bit of a culture shock for him at first. You get over it and just keep throwing the ball. Because imagine in high school, people are like, "Oh, you're awesome. You can throw the ball this hard," and then even in college, "Oh, kid, we want to go and scout you." But once
Yeah.
you get to the minor leagues, everybody's like, "Wait, you have some issues here. We got to fix this." And so, yeah, so he says it's been quite the ride, especially the last 3 years. All the injuries, all the adversity and stuff really shaped me into a different person. I'm definitely grateful for all those opportunities to grow into the person that I am, and I'm happy about that.
Yeah, exactly. And this is a kid that I think a lot of people are going to sell short until he actually does something in the major leagues. And I guess as a fan, you have the right to do that because it's what have you done for me lately and what people have seen. I remember one of the starts that I went to. He pitched an inning and a third and he got pulled off the mound. And I was kind of like, what's going on with Forrest Whitley? What is the thought process? And he basically came in and he said, I had some pretty clear cut goals going into the off season. I knew I was doing some things wrong in the middle of the last season. He said, or once I got back from my TJ rehab, some arm action things, kind of like you're talking about, Eric, that just weren't very clean. But then once the offseason came, he hashed things out the first 6 weeks and then started crushing bullpens and just tried to get a ton of skill acquisition and get off the mound as much as possible. And I feel very, very comfortable out there. I know that one of the Astros minor league bullpen catchers, Edgar Martinez, I talked to him from time to time. He caught several bullpens for Forrest Whitley this summer, and he basically said Forrest Whitley looks really good. And so he seemed to have some confidence of Forrest Whitley's progression. And I know Forrest Whitley, he knows the expectations put on him. He knows what he hasn't accomplished. But he should start in the rotation for Sugar Land, AAA. That's what Brian McTaggart wrote in his recent article. So you will see him on the bump. You will see him starting in that starting rotation for the Space Cowboys, which will be great. I mean, look, 23 minutes down the road, and he could very easily make that jump to Minute Maid Park, whether it's midseason or late season. And that would be a great thing for this kid. He needs that. He needs that boost of confidence, but he's got to have that success to kickstart that.
JG said that he played against him in high school. They became good friends. The negativity hit him hard mentally. Yeah, we could all kind of see it. And you can imagine, like Mark Appel kind of dealt with the same thing, being the number one prospect and even coming to Minute Park to work with Brent Strom. And then a lot of people, and I forgot who it was, if it was Jared Cosart or somebody else, kind of gave the Astros crap for bringing in somebody who wasn't even in double A yet to just kind of work in the bullpen at that time. But some of these guys, they do have this big spotlight on them, and it's how they deal with it. But just imagine what the spotlight will be when they get to big league. So I think Forrest Whitley going through this is just going to make him stronger for once his time comes. And I think his time will come. And like somebody said, Kaylee says DeGrom didn't break through until he was older. So I still think that there's a chance that he can be a piece. Now, will he be in a rotation for the Astros long time? Who knows? We'll just have to kind of see what injuries happen, because the Astros have a pretty stacked rotation, even without Mr. Justin Verlander.
Yeah, exactly. With Forrest Whitley, too, he has actually dropped his changeup and added a split finger. And they said that adding that pitch is not necessarily permanent, but they're seeing how that works. So I'm excited because we're going to spring training the 11th through the 19th. And I'm hoping that in one of those games, he's pitching in one of those games. It would be great to see him, whoever's there on the mound. But Eric, there's so much going on in spring training. Dusty Baker continues to just pump up this team. Martin Maldonado, I was watching some clips today from spring training, just having an absolute blast with the pitchers. And just, dude, everybody's ready. Everybody's got the right mindset. Alex Bregman, when he was asked about the potential to repeat, he said, "Look, we're loaded. Like we're ready to go out there, and we think we've got the team to do it." And so there's no lack of confidence on this team,
Right.
and no lack of talent. So it's definitely going to be a fun year to see if they actually do run it back.
Yeah, to kind of close out the show, I know we talked about it yesterday. Dusty Baker mentioned that Chas McCormick does have to earn the job this year. And Chas McCormick was asked that when he reported to camp today. And he said, he's right. I have to earn my spot. I haven't proved myself as a starter yet. And he went on to say, I think I'm a great defender. I did well in the playoffs, but that was last year. Now I have to prove myself this year. And so he's very much aware that he has to earn it this year. But if you look at Dubon actually put on some weight this year. He when the Astros traded for him, he was 165 pounds. He reported to camps 190 pounds. So he actually, like, I'm
Wow.
trying to lose weight for a Biggest Loser contest. He's actually put that on because the Astros felt like there's a lot of balls that he hit last year that with a little bit more oomph behind it would have become base hits. And so he said there's times this year that I was eating $5,000, $5,000, 5,000 calories and forcing myself to eat. There are times I didn't want to see food, smell anything, just because he was trying to put on the extra weight. And
Yeah,
so,
it's always hard when you're trying to gain weight. You get in the weight room, and eating becomes kind of a chore. I mean, if you go
right,
back and look at any of the interviews that JJ Watt did while he was in the NFL, I mean, his calorie intake was insane. Talking about thousands and thousands of calories per day. Guys like that get tired of eating, and if this isn't something he's normally done, because he doesn't look like he sits around and just gobbles up food wherever he is. This was probably a discipline he had to learn. And that's just as tough as someone who's trying to lose weight to put on the weight and
right.
do it the right way. Eric, in the episode tonight, Chas McCormick, that interview is on there, and so the people actually get to hear several more details about the center field battle and what he says. It's a really good insight and an insider look that you only get here at Locked On Astros.
All right, guys, thank you for making the Locked On Astros podcast your first listen every day. Make sure you subscribe to us on YouTube. Thank you for tuning in tonight, all the people that tuned in live. Make sure you give us a like and go ahead and tell your friend to tell a friend to tell a friend to tell a friend. And let's go and get our YouTube members up and go ahead. Well, I got my hat right here if you want me to put it on. But thank you for making Locked On Astros your first listen every day. Now make your second listen, Locked On MLB Prospects. Host Lindsey Crosby is a prospect encyclopedia, and he's going to deep on the MLB stars of tomorrow. It's free and available wherever you get your podcasts. My name is Eric Huysman. He is Brett Chancey, and we are the Locked On Astros podcast. And Go Stros, and we will see you tomorrow.